Good afternoon, welcome to our May 7th Town Board meeting. Please join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Supervisor Wareman?
Here.
Councilman McCarthy?
Here.
Councilwoman Noack? Here. Councilwoman Zarella? Here. Councilman Loman?
Yes, here. We have two site plans on the agenda today, which will be voted on at the end. Demonstration on them. One is a demolition, one is simply a landscaping adjustment. So we'll vote on those at the end of the board meeting, and we will start sitting as Board of Water Commissioners.
The minutes from April 18th, and there's two transfers between budget accounts. Councilman Loman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zarella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy? Supervisor Wareheim?
Yes. Reconvene as Town Board.
Okay, there's the Hop Hog Fire Department, 5K, September 7th from 9 until 10:30. American Vet Dogs 5K Run, September 28th from 7 to 12. GSE Shai Bunko Memorial Fund 5K, August 10th, 9:30 to 11:30, and the Building Department report for April 2024. There are two public hearings. The first is to consider zone change petition 2024-01 submitted by Boulder Smith Properties, and Tom Abate, the attorney for the applicant, is here to present the zone change.
Good afternoon, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board. Clerk recited, Tom Abate, ABB-ATE. I'm an attorney with offices at 88 Sunnyside Boulevard in Plainview. And this application, while it's brought in the name of Boulder Smithtown Properties, is actually Anthony Scotto, the noted restaurateur. And with me this afternoon is his partner, Arthur Viana, in the restaurant itself. The subject site is Insignia Restaurant, a site about which I'm sure we're all aware. Insignia, by way of background, was established through the imprimatur of this board. And when you gave us that relief, which we needed to open the restaurant, you did so by imposing various covenants and restrictions. We're here today to modify or request that you modify those covenants and restrictions, chiefly so as to increase the permitted amount of building square footage on the property. This is caused by three accessory components to the restaurant, and more substantively, our desire to erect an addition to it. I'll deal with the former first because they're minor, at least in terms of area. Those three components are a walk-in box, totals 426 square feet, a refrigerator, a freezer. The second one is a utility room of 64 square feet. Basically, that just houses our hot water heater. And then lastly, a walkway, 109 square feet of accessway, a path to walk to the walk-in boxes. When we contemplate the overall square footage of the building, today's modification also includes a bridal suite, and that's in the northwest corner of the property right there. That measures 402 square feet, and that was built pursuant to a duly issued building permit. What mostly then brings us into the modification portion, and which requires my application here today, is, as I mentioned, our desire to build an addition. And that addition is what we call our solarium. During COVID, the township embarked upon an excellent program which tried to benefit not only our restaurants and eateries, but our residents as well. And that was to facilitate outdoor dining. And what you allowed were temporary dining tents to be erected. And Mr. Scotto and Mr. Viana applied for and received a permit for a tent, and that remains on site even today. We're looking to replace that tent with what we call our solarium. And as you can see from the elevation on the screen before you, it's truly that, a solarium. It's not a moniker, it truly is. And by that I mean, as you can see, it's all glass walls and a glass ceiling. So you have full sun and you have full sky views. Moreover, the solarium is designed such that those doors are retractable. So it can provide the outdoor dining experience that our patrons have grown accustomed to. And if there's one thing, by the way, and not as an aside that we learned from COVID, people really love outdoor dining. right? And we're seeing that not just here, but in municipalities throughout the island, where now we're trying to make accommodation in our codes to facilitate that and let that be a permanent amenity. The solarium itself, Mr. Supervisor and members of the board, will measure 2,218 square feet and will be in the exact location of our tent. We also, as part of your approvals years ago, were allowed to have an outdoor patio. We're going to take just under 550 square feet of the fully legal outdoor patio and bring it into the solarium. That also, when we do the calculations, adds to our overage and the reason for the modification. Despite the size of it, the 2,200 square feet and the modification, it didn't necessitate any off-street parking relief. That square footage doesn't translate then to need for more parking. Even if it did, we are overparked on the site. We have 100 extra stalls on the property. It meets all of the height requirements and the setback requirements in the NB zone in which is located. When I mentioned various relief, that reminds me that we had a Board of Zoning Appeals hearing on this on April 9th of this year. And that was for the zoning provisions that we need to amend in order to get the modifications. Basically, a setback for the utility room, we were off by 4 feet out of 50, as well as the fact that this is in an environmentally sensitive land area. That deals with high groundwater. So because it's where the tent is, and because the tent is over our parking lot, in terms of the environmentally sensitive land, in as much as it concerns you, and it should, this is already impervious surface. So we are not removing any barren earth, we're not removing any vegetation. Moreover, it will be erected on a slab, so we're not intruding upon the groundwater. The only thing that will go in the earth are footings, as required by the New York State Building Code. I'm not an architect, but generally, from my experience, they're about 3 to 4 feet deep. Lastly, with respect to the BZA application, it went in without opposition, but irrespective of that, they couldn't vote on it for a simple reason. We filed the BZA application and this application simultaneously. You, the town board, are lead agency. So under the law of SECRA, until you adopt the SECRA findings, neither board can act. So the BZA is waiting for you to make that adoption of the SECRA findings. Lastly, I note that in your packet, you have a memo from planning who did their usual thorough review of the application and recommended approval, and did so with the recommendation of certain conditions. None of those conditions are onerous, they're not arduous, and they're not objectionable to us. I have to say it, they did ask the Board of Site Plan Review to consider, and that was the word, quote unquote, consider additional screening along the north side where our neighbors are. But I just want to point out, we already have a 50-foot deep, heavily vegetated buffer there already, evergreen buffer. But again, they only said to consider it. Inasmuch as the utility room and the walk-ins are there, they have done so without complaint. That's one of the hallmarks of Mr. Scotto, who I've represented for, gosh, well over 2 decades now. Always does things in deference to the neighborhood and make sure this melds. I posit to you this does as well. That's my case.
Thank you very much. Any questions by the board?
I just have one question.
Yes.
As I look at it, do you have plans to make it more attractive on the outside as you pass by on Smithtown Bypass? I'm thinking foliage, something more attractive.
In terms of plantings?
Yeah, outside, something so when you pass by, it looks a little stark. Not that I'm saying it's not a good idea, I'm just,
I understand.
I'm not seeing, it's very cold looking.
Okay, so,
And I know it sounds unimportant, but we will get calls on that.
oh no, I find it important. And Mr. Scotto finds it important. He wants his restaurants to be attractive. Clearly, it's attractive enough that he's not lacking any customers. I think we know that. It's a highly successful restaurant. I think that's something we can discuss at the Board of Site Plan Review, whether we need to augment the street plantings in any respect.
Because what could be better than outdoor dining indoors?
Absolutely. I agree. That's why we want to build a solarium.
Any other questions by the board?
I have one question. How many additional seats does this add to the restaurant?
Oh, good question. It does not. our occupancy is capped by the Suffolk County Department of Health Services at 251. So the tent didn't expand that occupancy, and the solarium, which is replacing the tent, will not expand the occupancy. We're strictly limited by DOHS. Thanks for bringing that up.
Any other questions? Is there anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this public hearing? There being none, I will move to close.
Second.
Supervisor Wareheim?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Noah?
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella?
Yes.
Councilman Lohman?
Thank you, council.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Second, the second public hearing is to consider local law 1224, amendments to chapter 256 entitled Taxation as it relates to partial exemption for senior citizens with limited income. And Janice Hanson, Assistant Town Attorney, is here to present the changes.
Good afternoon, Supervisor and members of the board. The purpose of this hearing is to consider the adoption of a new Section 256-5C to our taxation code. What it would do is add pursuant to the provision of real property tax law, Section 467-8A, where a renewal application for an exemption is not filed by the taxable status date. If the owner believes that they have a good reason for missing the deadline, they can submit a written request to the assessor asking for an extension of the filing deadline, and that the exemption be granted up until the last day for paying taxes without interest and penalties. The written request would need to include an explanation of why the deadline was missed and the renewal application. And then the assessor may extend the filing deadline and grant the exception if he's satisfied that good cause existed for missing the deadline and that the applicant is otherwise eligible for the exemption. If it's granted, the assessor will correct the assessment roll, and if the correction is not made until after the taxes are levied, it will be deemed a clerical error and will be corrected accordingly. So, and if that's adopted, then the existing 256-5C will be renumbered to 256-5D to make room for this. So unless there are any questions, that concludes this presentation.
And that request is made to the assessor,
Yes.
sole assessor. Okay. Any questions by the board? No. Anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this public hearing? There being none, to close.
Second.
Supervisor Wareheim?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Noah?
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella?
Yes.
Councilman Lohman?
Thank you.
Advertised for 4 public hearings, all to be held on Thursday, May 23rd at 2 p.m. in Town Hall. The first is Chapter 112 entitled Building Construction in regards to building permit applications. The next 3 are Chapter 322. The first is regarding Board of Zone Appeals procedure. The second relates to parking garages, and the last relates to sheds. Councilman Lohman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Noah?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim?
Yes.
On the consent agenda for the comptroller, number 1 to 32, 2 consent resolutions and the minutes of 321, 418, and 5-1.
Anyone on the town board wish to remove any resolutions from the consent agenda?
No.
No.
Thank you.
Deputy Clerk?
Councilman Lohman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim?
Yes.
The town board to issue a secret negative declaration determination in the matter of the application for site plan approval by New York SMSA Limited Partnership doing business as Verizon Wireless at 25 Davids Drive, and in the matter of the application for site plan approval by Andrew Graham for the Hampton Inn tree removal on the southeast corner of Comac Road and the Long Island Expressway in Comac. Both resolutions are for reasons stated in a memorandum from the Environmental Protection Director. Councilman Lohman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim?
Yes.
Authorize the town clerk to advertise for bid 2437 for plow blades and cutting edges, and 2438 electrical maintenance and repair. Councilman Lohman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim?
Yes.
Award the following bids and authorize the purchase of the associated goods or services. The annual service agreement for drainage, sump, brush clearing, tree removal to Reliable Tree Service, and bid 2429, a forklift truck to Island Forklifts Incorporated. Councilman Lohman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes.
The Town Board to approve the following: an agreement with the Suffolk County Water Authority for funding to restore the areas disturbed by the installation of water mains on New York Avenue and Wildwood Lane, an extension of agreement with Heidecker Land Surveying to provide professional surveying services at Paul Given Park through May 1st, 2025, the ratification of the Highway Superintendent's signature on 2 separate agreements with National Grid regarding the restoration of roadways associated with the 2023 St. James Gas Main Replacement Project, termination of an agreement with Village of Head of the Harbor for the use of town's public safety ordinance inspectors and fire marshals effective immediately, an amendment to the 2024 agreement to spend town highways funds to purchase equipment, an amendment to Resolution 2024-436, adopted April 18th to modify the commencement date of a suspension of employee, an amendment to the 2024 Highway Road Program to add New York Avenue, Wildwood Lane, and John Jones Lane in Smithtown, a statement of support for the removal and replacement of a wood shingled roof and the replacement of fascia and gutters on the Caleb Smith House, proposed by the Smithtown Historical Society pursuant to the Suffolk County Downtown Revitalization Program. Addition of Thomas Volpis to the town's 2024 pre-qualified list of professional service consultants. Extension of bid 2351 for athletic field marking paint with PBG architectural finishes. Extension of bid 2411 for animal shelter supplies with the Barn Vet Feed and Supply and Lawrence Laboratories. Extension of bid 2360, disposal of clean fill with BB maintenance services. And the last is the removal of Smithtown Unity Council members as listed on the agenda. Councilman Lohman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes.
The Town Board to issue a written consistency determination pursuant to Chapter 151 of the Town Code that the Coastal Consistency Review 2024-05 is consistent with the local water revitalization plan. Councilman Lohman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes.
Accept the donation from Fastnet Therapeutic Solutions in the amount of $440 to the animal shelter. Councilman Lohman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes.
Authorize the supervisor to execute the following resolutions on a form approved by the town attorney. An agreement with Hayduck Engineering to provide professional engineering services related to the stabilization of the bluff and the design and construction of a stone revetment at Kings Park Bluff. Agreements with various departments and districts outside the town of Smithtown to utilize the Edward Mancuso Fire Training Center for 1 year. Intermunicipal agreement with Head of the Harbor to utilize Town of Smithtown animal control officers, fire marshals, public safety ordinance inspectors, and park rangers for the purpose of performing inspections and enforcing local laws through December 31st, 2024. An agreement with National Water Cleaning Company to perform various projects under the terms and conditions of the East Hampton Highway Department contract. A donation agreement with Laura Franzen for the town to accept a memorial tree, rock, and plaque to be placed at the Kings Park Bluff in the town of Smithtown. And an amendment to the agreement with Newest Corp. doing business as Bagel Toastery to operate and maintain the fixed concession facilities located at Flynn Memorial Park and Short and Long Beach for the 2024 summer season. Councilman Lohman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes.
Approve settlement in the following matters per the recommendation of the town attorney. Sandra and Spiros Karakostis in the amount of $1,500. Joseph Urbon for $3,654.22. And Elizabeth Creedon in the amount of $614.32. Councilman Lohman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes.
And personnel issues, number 1 to 12, as described on the agenda. Councilman Lohman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes. We have 2 site plans to vote.
The minutes approval for the site plan from March 5th, and conditionally approve the site plan for Verizon Wireless on 25 Davids Drive for the proposed demolition of a 40,192 square foot, one-story industrial building. The location is the south side of Davids Drive with Adams Avenue in Hopog. And conditionally approve the site plan for Hampton Inn for tree removal for the proposed site landscaping modifications involving the removals of 13 trees. The location is the southeast corner of Comac Road and the LIE in Comac. Councilman Lohman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim?
Yes. That concludes the agenda. Do we have anyone wishing to speak?
No speakers.
No speakers, therefore I'll move to close the meeting.
Second.
Supervisor Wareheim?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack?
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella?
Yes.
Councilman Lohman?
Yes. Thank you all for attending. Have a good afternoon.